providing resources and comfort to caregivers. This is Caregiver Crossing.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi. Hey. Welcome to Caregiver Crossing. Thank you so much for being here. If it's your first time, we want you to know that Caregiver Crossing is a show brought to you by Joy's House, presented in partnership with our friends at Cardon and Associates. And we are here every week to discuss all things caregiving. And I feel like I haven't seen you for a minute.
We haven't been back here in a while. It's been a few weeks since
We've been running some best of, right?
Yes, yeah.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing really well. I'm excited to be in 2025.
You are.
I am.
You might be the first person I've heard say that.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a new year and I'm ready to rock and roll.
I mean, I think it's my TikTok feed, possibly RIP.
That is true.
That's a sad moment for me.
It is, really.
Honestly, if it ends today, I'm going to be really sad.
I might cry today.
I don't know what to do with all my hours that I waste flipping through.
I've curated my feed so much, so it's exactly what I want to see, and now it's potentially going to be gone. Is it really going to be gone?
I don't know. We'll find out by the end of the day.
We're going to find out in a few
Who are you
hours.
on TikTok right now?
Who am I?
Yeah.
I get a lot of cat videos, a lot of cats, and a lot of gaming stuff right now.
You are hilarious. You guys, if you could see Noah's T-shirt right now, by the way, Noah has a great mustache, and his T-shirt says, "My mustache brings all the runs to the yard." It's a baseball shirt, but I cannot read it without hearing, "My mustache brings all the
boys to the yard."
Yeah, I mean, I want to say boys, right?
Yeah.
All the boys to the yard is better than your... Anyway, hi. That is not about caregiving. I have two things to tell you. One, I learned something that it feels really worthless to share with most of you, but I'm going to do it anyway. I learned something. My name is Tina Marie, because that's what all Tinas are named, really, is Tina Marie.
Always Marie.
And I thought I was named after Lisa Marie Presley, because my grandmother loved Elvis
Presley.
Come to find out, I'm named after, and I don't know if you're going to be able to track on this, Gilligan's Island. Do you know the show?
I know the show.
Well, there were two hot chicks on there. All right.
Mm-hmm.
There was Ginger and Marianne. Ginger is the redhead. Her real name is, I think it's Tina Louise, though, now that I say that out loud. Anyway,
there's no Marie.
I was named after her because my dad thought she was hot.
Okay. Wow. That's a wonderful story.
Isn't that a great story to share here on Caregiver
It
Crossing?
really is. That's great.
I think I
love
just
the
need some
origin
therapy
behind your
about
name.
it. I have there's a lot of things in there I have questions about. And why am I this old and just now finding that out?
Right. Well,
Anyway,
maybe
what
it's
else
a good
don't
thing.
I know? Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah.
What else don't I know about myself?
What do you still need to ask?
Oh, can somebody email me and tell me all the questions you should ask your parents while they're still alive?
That's a good thing to think about.
Is that a book?
I bet it
I'm gonna write it
probably
down.
is.
All the things to ask your parents while they're still alive. Okay. All right. So Noah, this is gross. We're going to talk about these viruses that
We
are
got to
going
talk
around.
about something gross.
So I had one.
I did too.
What did you have?
I had the norovirus.
Ooh, icky.
I got the
You're
stomach flu.
disgusting.
Yeah, I am disgusting, horrible. Yeah.
Without telling us anything that would change how I look at you, what can you tell us about that virus? Because I have heard it's terrible.
Well, I got it really bad. And I'll just say this really quick in case anybody else has this problem. When I get sick, it's really bad. And so I had hurt my esophagus. And so if you're ever feeling that pain and can't stop getting sick, you might have something called a Mallory-Weissman tear in your esophagus, which is what I had. They're little tiny tears in your esophagus from getting really sick. But the good thing is once you get some fluids in you and everything, I'm not a doctor. I went to the ER. So I just got a bunch of fluids, and then you can eat, like the basic diet. Mashed potatoes, applesauce, and it heals in 2 or 3 days. So it's terrifying during it, but it's kind of
you
an
could
easy
feel it from the
process.
inside out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm hearing from that. When you're sick, because this whole, norovirus thing, and then there's COVID and RSV, I had the true flu, so the lung flu, and ended up with a secondary infection. And I know a lot of you know, but I had brain radiation in December. So December for me was a wash. Like I feel like I lost
A whole month.
4 or 5 weeks of my life.
Yeah.
It was not fun. Listen to your body. And I'll tell you a quick story. So my husband had that true flu, gave it to me because he's a giver, and then my son ended up with it. And my son, who is 20, kept saying, Mom, I feel like it's more than a cold. To which I said, honey, it's just, like, it's just a cold. Like, we just at that point kind of
get over it. Yeah.
Yeah, like suck it up.
Yeah.
And then I went to med check because I was like, this is more than a cold. And I came back and said, we need to talk really quick. 1, I'm sorry that I dismissed your symptoms. And 2, advocate for yourself. And that's what I'm hearing with you talking about those little tears, right? It would have been really easy to say, you got norovirus, this sucks.
Go home. Yeah.
But you knew something else was going on. You've got to advocate for yourself.
You really do. Yeah. Yeah. That's a really good point to bring up.
Did you have to do that?
Not this time, but because I have had that happen in the past.
You poor thing.
When I actually had COVID a few years ago, I had went to the ER like the first time and they sent me home. So they didn't know that anything was wrong with my esophagus. And then I had to go back a week later still after being like sick that whole week. So if I would have just advocated for myself that first time.
That's hard.
Yeah, it really is.
It's hard. What else do we know about this?
Well, we know that the norovirus, some people call it the stomach flu. It's a really highly contagious virus that causes sudden stomach and intestinal inflammation. Some of the symptoms include diarrhea, vomiting, nausea, and stomach pain. Some people even experience fever, body aches, and dehydration is a really, really important one to look out for.
I think the hardest thing is right now there's so much going around you don't know what you
have. You have no idea.
But if you think you have something or you've been exposed, forgive me, and then you start having symptoms, I start talking about it, I'm going to have to clear my throat. And you start having symptoms, just go to your doctor or go to, a med check or some kind of immediate care. Go to the ER if you have to, but just go because there are medications that can help you. And for me, I missed getting that, is it Tamiflu or whatever it is? Like I missed the time that you can get that would have helped my symptoms to be less. And, if you're a person who gets vaccinations, but you haven't done them yet, it's not too late to get your vaccinations.
Yes, it's
so
not too
keep
late.
that in mind too.
I do have a real quick question for you, Tina.
Yeah.
So being a mom of 3 young kids, you have to know a little bit something about this. What's something you've learned about keeping a home clean after somebody got sick?
Ooh, okay. Golly, it takes me back to the days when I was in chemo and all the things we did. I think, it's all the things we hear about washing your hands, the 20 seconds, the using your hand sanitizer, all those kinds of things. And yet it's everywhere. And so if you don't feel like you can go out safely, don't do that. Or don't have people come in. You know what I mean? Like there is a fine line between being over the top with everything and not doing anything. And I just, you can wipe down the handles, you can do all that kind of stuff. But the reality is viruses are really tricky. And so just protect yourself.
Right.
All right, we have to take a break. We'll be back in just a moment on Caregiver Crossing.
You're listening to Caregiver Crossing, a show designed for family caregivers and the people who love them. Caregiver Crossing is brought to you as a service of Joyce House in partnership with Cardon and Associates. With locations in Broad Ripple and near the University of Indianapolis campus, Joyce House provides exceptional day services for individuals living with a life-altering diagnosis and compassionate support for family caregivers throughout the community. At Joyce House, we believe that everyone deserves to live their best life, regardless of their abilities. Learn more about our adult day and caregiver support services by calling us at 317-254-0828 or by visiting joycehouse.org today. All right, stick around, everybody. We'll be right back with more Caregiver Crossing shortly.
Looking for ways to save on your energy bills? AES Indiana has you covered. From smart thermostats to home energy assessments, we offer simple solutions to keep your home comfortable and your costs down. AES can help you save money and energy with kits, tips, rebates, and more. Visit aesindiana.com/ways to save to learn more about how we can help you save money. AES Indiana, helping you discover real ways to save.
If you're constantly waking up feeling like you didn't get a full night's rest, the problem might actually be your mattress. For a better sleep, Sleep Number Smart Bed has your back. Since 2018, Sleep Number and the NFL have partnered to bring quality sleep to elite athletes. Now 80% of NFL players have a Sleep Number Smart Bed, and there's a good reason for that. Sleep plays a huge role in boosting recovery and performance after workouts. Both sides of a Sleep Number Smart Bed uniquely contour to your head, neck, and shoulders for a more personalized and comfortable rest. You can even adjust the bed's firmness, perfect for couples with different sleep needs. Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed? So you can choose your ideal comfort on either side. And now, it's the lowest price of the season on the top-selling i8 smart bed. Your best savings plus special financing. Limited time. Shop a Sleep Number store near you. Sleep Number, official sleep and wellness partner of the NFL. See store or sleepnumber.com for details.
We're back on Caregiver Crossing, and I am your host, Tina McIntosh. We are missing Terry Stacy today, but Noah's here.
Hello.
Hey. And we are really lucky to have in studio with us our coworker from Joy's House, Abby Vincent. First of all, let's just say hi.
Hi, everyone.
That's Abby. She is part of the Joy's House family. She is Abby is a licensed clinical social worker and is our care services director at Joy's House. And y'all have heard us talk about it says death doula on the page, the end of life doula program. But people do call it death doula. We'll talk about that here in just a second. And everything that she does with wisdom and beauty and wit and compassion. And she is guiding families through these really hard moments in life and leading really important conversations about end of life care. And so she makes these topics feel more approachable. And we want to talk about them with her today. So hi. Hey.
Hi, I'm so glad to be here.
Glad you're here. So we're going to dive into some pretty deep questions right off the bat. But at the top of the year, we see a shift in families. I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's weather driven or it's schedule driven or, whatever. But it's really tough for people who are grieving. And do you find that to be true with the work that you're doing?
Yes, absolutely. Sometimes too, we think about larger extended families coming together for the holidays and somebody's missing. And that can be a really tough time for everyone involved. And so then as the year continues, you enter into a new year, you start, you have celebrations and that person's missing. And so it can be tough.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I think about, they always say that first year after somebody passes is really one of the most difficult, right? And I like how you say that. I mean, it's almost like there's an empty seat at the table.
Yeah. We've all kind of heard that phrase before, but it's really true. And then when it's you experiencing that, it's tough.
Yeah, and it doesn't just have to be, I don't know why I'm going to say it this way, but I am. It doesn't just have to be hard after that first, or in that first year.
That's right. I've actually had some people say that the second year is even harder. And that's, that's true for some people. You've gone through the first of everything, and you maybe have some more support during that first year. And then the second year, again, you're going through it.
Okay, so let's talk about that for a second. I wonder if that's not because people rally around you that first year or during the holiday season. I mean, they're kind of, in my head, they're the same right now.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden the people are gone. And that silence is deafening.
It's
There's
loud.
the same for a reason, right?
Exactly. Yeah. The silence is just more apparent.
Interesting. Well, how do you feel about goal setting? So we're talking top of the year kind of stuff. Like, I don't do New Year's resolutions anymore, by the way.
I don't either.
I did make a New Year's resolution, but I've already failed. So what's the point?
Congratulations. It sounds to me like you completed it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I've completed it and moved on.
I think that's pretty typical, Noah.
Yeah. So how do you feel about that? Like people setting these new goals at the top of the year when it comes to, grieving and end of life conversations and all of that.
I don't think there can be a timeline on grief. And so...
Oh, say that again.
Yeah, there is no timeline with grief.
Yeah.
Everyone's journey is different. What one person experiences is different from what somebody else does. And when we, in our mind, we think, okay, in 6 months, I should be doing this or that, or in 2 weeks, I need to do this or that. It can be a real struggle because you might not be there in 2 weeks, and then you feel bad, and then you feel guilty. So I would encourage people not to put any kind of goals or resolutions on their grief. Feel what you're feeling, be in your space,
Be present.
Go easy on yourself, be patient. There's no timeline.
I think that's wonderful. And so since everybody does have a different journey, if there are people who really want to honor their loved ones, what would be a good way to maybe do that in the new year?
Yeah, I love this. There's some of the research behind grief and loss. Many of you have heard of Elizabeth Kubler-Ross and her 5 stages of grief. There's also a sixth stage of grief that David Kessler has developed, which is about finding meaning and purpose to the loss. And this can really help people cope and continue to move forward in their grief journey by finding something meaningful. It could be something like maybe your loved one loved hiking. And so you get a group of friends together in his or her honor, and you have a meetup and you talk about stories about that person, and you go for the hike and you experience that natural beauty, and you know that your person would have loved that.
That is, I'm trying to think. I went egocentric for a second.
Me too.
And I was thinking about my dad's
Yeah.
passing, and I'm like, where would I find? Now, listen, it was a wonderful, beautiful passing, and I would recreate it again the same way if we could. But trying to find meaning or purpose in that passing, I can't help but to think egocentrically about what is that for me, because I've not thought about it that way.
Yeah.
I loved his death. It was beautiful. I loved his life, most of it, much of it.
Yeah. That's okay.
I loved him.
Yeah.
But the purpose and the meaning in it.
Yeah, I'll share a story real quick.
You don't have to make it quick. We're right here with you.
We spread my father's ashes in Lake Michigan, and
Are you allowed to do that? Or are you going to get arrested?
I'm probably going to get arrested.
Yeah.
But every so often, my family and we take a little trip to a lake house out on Lake Michigan and just get to spend the time with each other and share stories about my dad. So that's immediately what I thought of
Yeah,
when you were
exactly.
sharing that.
That's a great way to honor
love that.
him, Noah. I love that too.
It's a really great time
Yeah.
too to be
Yeah.
on the beach.
Yep.
Can't
Yep.
complain.
Yeah.
And I would imagine when you're together, there are moments that fleet in that are very much about your father or something you've learned from your father, or, a moment. And then the majority of the time, you're probably there as family enjoying each other.
Yes.
Right?
And I can still see him and everybody. And so it's like he's still there, really.
Yeah, that's beautiful, Noah. Yeah.
That is beautiful.
Okay, I'm going to share a quick one too.
Please.
No, not quick. We're
Okay,
right here.
just a regular
all
story.
here.
So, when I was growing up and I would spend the night at my grandparents' house, there was only one Jack's Donuts then, and it was in Newcastle, where my grandparents lived. My grandpa would get up early. He'd get our order the night before. You had to get there early to get the donuts. He would get the donuts, and they would be there when I would come home, or when I would wake up for the day.
Oh.
And that was just so special. And it wasn't, as you get older and you reflect, it wasn't the donuts. It was the comfort. It was the being together. It was that he was thinking of us in that special way. And now, as many of you know, there are Jack's Donuts everywhere. We have them here this morning. So I'm reminded of my grandpa all the time. And it's like love to me.
That is wonderful.
Yeah.
Donuts, what a great reminder. Too.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Exactly.
Well, I'll just be the loser over here, not being able to figure out the purpose or meaning. But I'll get back to you. I'll get back to
you
you.
have time to think about it.
There's no
But those are-
timeline, Tina.
There's no timeline. Thank you. Those are beautiful, and they don't have to be complex.
They don't.
Right.
They can be simple.
I
Very
think
simple.
that's part of the problem when we're talking about grief, is we think everything has to be so big and heavy and serious,
That's right.
and it isn't always.
No, it's not. It's
a
his little
donut.
It's
I mean,
a
like-
donut. Yeah. It's the little moments.
I think a question that kind of leads me to kind of thinking about is how can caregivers really balance, how can they find balance between their own grief and responsibilities of caring for somebody else?
Yeah, that's such a tough one, Noah, because, we're experiencing our own grief process, and then we might be responsible for young children or an aging parent. I would encourage people to really put some time into thinking about your own boundaries and your where you are in your caregiving process and your grief process, and recognizing when you're just like you need a break. And that's when your support system comes in, and ask for specifics. Hey, Tina, can you take my kids for a couple hours on Friday evening? I really need some time alone. And you ask people for specific ways to support you.
It also makes me think, Abby, that there is such a grief process when caring for someone, particularly with a life-altering diagnosis, right?
Yes.
So you're grieving the loss of that person, or losses of that person along the way before they're gone.
Absolutely.
Before they
the
die.
anticipatory grief involved with that.
All right, you've been hearing the voice of Abby Vincent, who is a licensed clinical social worker and our care services director at Joy's House. When we come back, we're going to talk about grief being a real personal journey, and also spaces to talk about grief, something special that Joyce House is hosting coming up. But we're going to take a break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back just a moment with Caregiver Crossing.
You're listening to Caregiver Crossing, a show designed for family caregivers and the people who love them. Caregiver Crossing is brought to you weekly by Joyce House in partnership with Cardon and Associates. We are here every week to bring you support, education, and hopefully a good laugh. Visit caregivercrossingradio.org to connect with us, hear past episodes, learn more about caregiver support resources in the community, and much more. That website again is caregivercrossingradio.org. All right, everybody, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more Caregiver Crossing shortly.
This podcast is brought to you by eHarmony, the dating app to find someone you can be yourself with. Ever wondered if there's a better way to gauge your compatibility with other people on dating apps? Well, there is on eHarmony. Thanks to their compatibility quiz, you can see what makes you compatible with other members. On eHarmony, you're one step closer to finding someone you can be yourself with without having to pretend to be someone you're not. Get who gets you on eHarmony. Sign up today. There's one thing that will forever change the way you sleep, and it's the softest 100% organic cotton sheets from Boll & Branch. You'll fall asleep faster, wrapped in the most luxurious comfort. You'll never sleep hot again. With sheets that feel breathable to sleep in, you'll experience the purest softness on night one and feel your sheets get even softer with every wash. Discover the difference with 15% off your first set of sheets at bollandbranch.com with code WONDERY15. Exclusions apply. See site for details.
We're back on Caregiver Crossing. I'm Tina McIntosh in studio with Noah Taylor.
Hello.
And Abby Vincent.
Hello.
Abby, if you were with us I guess I don't say that right. Abby, you were with us.
Correct, I was, yes.
But if you weren't with us last segment, you are hearing the voice of Abby Vincent, who is a licensed clinical social worker. She is part of the Joyce House family on staff in care services and focuses a lot on our end-of-life program that we have. You've heard us talk about end-of-life doula. Some people say death doula. That's harsh for me. Is that harsh for you?
It's not anymore. When I first started learning more about the role and what that entails, I thought it was harsh.
Yeah.
I think I'm just getting used to it.
Like, I feel when we say death doula, I feel like you are going to float in with like some big
Swishy
black
skirt
Right. And like
yeah.
you don't walk, you literally float in like a hoverboard.
I know.
But the end of life doula program for us, just so you all know, is living with purpose, dying with peace. And so working with people at the end of life. And there's a lot that goes into this. And so, Abby, if you can talk just very briefly about what you do when you're working with a client as an end of life doula. And then we want to talk about something special that's coming up that we want everyone to know about.
Yeah, that's right. Sure. So an end-of-life doula, one way to think about this role is that it's somebody who walks alongside a person who is in the dying process, somewhere along the dying process. And so somebody who supports that person with all the non-medical support. An end-of-life doula is non-medical, whereas, say, if the person's on hospice, the hospice team treats all the medical aspects of care. The end-of-life doula is non-medical. So that could be just providing emotional support, allowing that person to have a space to talk about all the hard things that they're facing, all the emotional ups and downs of that process. And there's all kinds of other projects and things that we can work on together depending on what that person is interested in. So it's really tailored to the individual and what that individual's goals and needs are at the time.
I've never thought about it this way, but something you said just made me think it's like almost like being a concierge at the end of someone's life.
Actually, I love that, Tina. It
Right?
is. It kind of is.
What do you need?
Like what do you need? What's left unsaid? What's left undone?
Yeah. What do you need to resolve in your life? Who do you want to talk with? What legacy do you want to leave behind? Do you want to have a living funeral?
Yep.
How do you want to die? I mean,
Yeah.
I've just never thought about it like that.
I like that, a concierge service. Yeah. And, we do a full assessment at the beginning of working with a client to talk about those things.
Yeah.
We get some history. We discuss what our goals are together and what that individual wants to focus on. And it is so different for every person.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, talk about person-centered care and like individuality.
Absolutely.
Right?
It is most definitely person-centered care.
If someone's interested in learning more about that program, what do they do?
Yeah, you can call me here at Joy's House, or you can send me an email, abby@joyshouse.org. Abby is ABBY. Yeah, I'd love to hear from you and talk more about it.
Perfect. And the number at Joy's House is 317-254-0828. Again, Abby is who you want to talk with. You can always email me too. If you forget, we throw my email, Tina@Joy's House, out a lot, and happy to put you in touch. So Abby, we've talked a lot about death over drafts.
Yes, we have.
That's right.
Which is come and have a beer or whatever it is you drink or don't drink, right?
That's right.
Come and have that and talk in a safe space guided by some questions. But there's this new thing that we're doing called Death Cafe.
Correct.
Do tell.
Yeah. So Joy's House will be hosting our first Death Cafe on Thursday, January 23rd from 5:30 to 7. We're really excited about it. We're co-hosting with a gentleman named Richard Brendan, who has worked in the end-of-life space for years. He's a speaker, mentor, guide, just a wonderful human in general. And so we're co-hosting with Richard. And when you hear the term Death Cafe, again, that term death, I think it's death doula, Death Cafe. It's kind of, it can be scary.
Yeah.
When
It does have a scary connotation.
Yeah, it does. It does. So I want you to take everything you're thinking about a death cafe and just kind of wipe it clean. A death cafe is essentially it's a group of people who come together who are open to conversation. There'll be tea and cake, and it's a relaxed, welcoming environment. There's no agenda. It's just a space that you know that the other person that you're engaged with is going to be comfortable talking about a hard topic, death and dying. And so it allows for people to be in a space that increases their comfort level and their ability to talk about tough topics.
This really does sound like a wonderful event. I'm curious how the concept began. How did the Death Cafe start?
Yeah, so it's kind of a relatively new movement that was originally started by a Swiss sociologist and then carried on by, excuse me, a man named John Underwood and a woman named Sue Barsky Reed in East London. And so they, in 2009, I think, or 2011, I can't remember exactly the year. But then it moved from there with the idea of no agenda, no specific intention, but just a gathering to allow people to be in that safe, comfortable space to talk about death.
It's like a meetup.
It's kind of like a meetup. Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. What I think will be really interesting is that there's no agenda. I mean, there's no guiding kind of a thing. It is, by the way, coming up on January 23rd. So here in the next few days, and the time is from 5:30 to 7 p.m. at Joy's House in Broad Ripple. So 2028 East Broad Ripple Avenue. So, come to Joy's House. And you don't have to RSVP.
Don't have to RSVP. Just show up. Yeah, we would love for you to be here.
I just, in my spirit, feel like there's somebody who's listening that's like, I kind of want to go. I kind of don't want to go. And I just want to encourage you to come.
That's right.
You're in a really safe space. You're with really great people. It's okay if you cry. It's okay if you have, you're angry about the loss. It's okay if you're scared. It's okay to talk about yourself or someone else. I just want to encourage you to show up.
Yeah, I love that.
Just show
Thanks,
up.
Tina. Yeah. Yep.
What are you most excited about?
I love the conversations with people about stories about themselves, stories about their loss, stories about their grief journeys. And I love what has happened naturally at events like Death Over Drafts, where people form these amazing connections when you just get right into some vulnerable topics. And you get to know people fairly quickly. And, I met people at Death Over Drafts and we cried together and then we hugged and we just met that night. And so the connections that are established from events like this are really meaningful.
I have heard Stacia Demos Mills, who is part of the Joy's House family through our board. She's an elder law attorney here in town and just an incredible human, accordion player. That seems important to say. I have heard Stacia say more than once how incredible this journey has been with Joy's House, talking about death, how life-giving it is.
Yes.
And I think that's what's going to happen at this Death Cafe.
I agree.
So again, when is it?
January 23rd from 5:30 to 7 at Joy's house.
Okay, in Broad Ripple. So we hope to see you then.
You're listening to Caregiver Crossing, a show designed for family caregivers and the people who love them. Caregiver Crossing is brought to you as a service of Joy's House in partnership with Cardon and Associates. With locations in Broad Ripple and near the University of Indianapolis campus, Joy's House provides exceptional day services for individuals living with a life-altering diagnosis and compassionate support for family caregivers throughout the community. At Joy's House, we believe that everyone deserves to live their best life, regardless of their abilities. Learn more about our adult day and caregiver support services by calling us at 317-254-0828 or by visiting joyshouse.org today. All right, everybody, stick around. We'll be right back with more Caregiver Crossing right after this.
We're back on Caregiver Crossing. I don't want to go.
I don't want to go either. Let's stick around for a while.
Just you and me will just sit here and talk.
Yeah. Doesn't have to be recorded.
There is something interesting going on. So, do you know there's such a thing as Grandma Day?
I do, but just because I found out about it a few moments ago.
And we made Abby stay with us too, by the way.
Hi, everyone. I was going to say, I'm still here too.
Do you know Grandma Day?
No,
is a thing?
no, but I love it. I love grandmas.
So apparently this started in Poland and it's celebrated every year on January 21st and it's widely celebrated across Poland. So if we were Polish, we would know this.
And we would be celebrating it.
And yet here we are, just talking about it for the
Yes.
first time in my life. So children and adults get their grandmother's cards. This is good timing for me, though, for this to become popular because
Right.
I'm not a grandma yet, but I will be in the not so distant future.
And then it'll be popular.
Yeah, if we could spread the word, that'd be great. So grandmas are getting, cards and flowers and the small gifts and all the things that we do. And this first started, I think, back in Life magazine.
It started in a Woman in Life magazine in Poland in 1964. They actually started it so that grandmothers could get more presents.
Oh.
Like, Are you serious?
No.
All right. Now, listen, that's a chapter in my book. Remember, if you say things with confidence, people will believe you. So according to research, Polish grandparents spend on average more time than any of their European counterparts with their grandchildren. And it's around the average. Any guesses on how many hours a week? 9. An
hours
average
a
of
week.
9
Wow.
hours a week. I mean, that's a part-time job.
That is.
Yeah, it really is.
So it leads us to this conversation, and let's put Abby on first.
Right on the spot.
Oh, boy.
When you think of your grandmothers, how many grandmothers?
2.
Okay, because I have more. That's a
yeah,
different
I
therapy
know.
session. Are they still with us, or
No,
have they passed?
They have passed.
Okay. When you think of your grandmothers, any special memory or quality about them? Anything that you are willing to share?
I'll talk about one of my grandmothers who was really special to me. Kind, quiet, yet comforting, and just loved spending time together. We used to sit and watch the birds out her kitchen window, and peaceful. It was peaceful, and she just always loved us so much. She wanted to make the food that we wanted. She just wanted to be present with us.
I love that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Noah, how many grandmothers?
2. Well, 3, 4. Some step grandmas.
Just for the record, those are different numbers.
Yes,
Yes,
they're
I know,
all
no,
different.
no.
2 by blood, others, I don't know, half grandma.
Yeah.
My mom's mom, she was not always nice. She was a little bit mean sometimes, but she was definitely one of the most hardworking people I've ever known. She ran a Christmas tree farm down near Evansville called the Marling Farm.
Oh, she
If
had
anybody
to be tough.
knows,
I bet she was tough.
yeah. They were up, 5 a.m. every morning, picking bugs off the trees, and then
Wow.
going back to bake cakes for the farm. And I mean, she wasn't always nice to us, but she was really, really hardworking, and I think that meant a lot to me.
She was your stereotypical farmer. I mean, like, it's what I'm hearing in my head.
Literally, her and her husband, my grandpa, were stereotypical farmers with the tractor and everything.
Yeah, and listen, I tell my kids all the time, there are stereotypes for a reason. Not everybody fits the stereotype.
That's right.
Like, we get so mad about stereotypes, but there's a stereotype of being a farmer for a reason. They happen to
Hardworking.
fit it, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, my grandma, there are several of them, but I'm going to go to my grandma Ethel is the one that comes to mind. This was my mother's mother, passed away when I was in high school of acute myeloid leukemia, which ironically is my husband has the chronic myeloid leukemia. But Grandma Ethel was thin. She was always. It's funny when I describe her because you're going to hear me describing myself, which I recognize. Had short, spiky hair. It was silver, beautiful silver hair. She always wore jeans, and she wore Ugg boots before Ugg boots were a thing, like some kind of furry, probably like Native American Indian influence boots. She always wore a tube top, which is funny. I always made fun of it but I always wear tank tops. I have a tank top on my sweatshirt now.
Yeah.
She always wore tube tops. I always joke that they started at a normal place around her chest, and by the time she died, it was like down around her belly button. And she was just cool, like lover of people, animals. I mean, she was the one that would take animals or people in if they needed care. She's the reason that my mom and my Aunt Ava and my grandma all joined an all-black women's bowling league when I was younger. Have you heard me talk about that before?
No, I haven't.
In the 70s, which blows my mind. Think about the timing of this. But every Friday night, we would end up at the bowling alley, and if my biological cousins weren't there, I was the only white kid with all my aunties in the bowling league, which as a result, in the 70s, then, because of my grandmother's influence, our family physician and our dentist were black.
Wow.
And at my dentist, I was the only, my mom and I were the only white people I ever saw there. So my grandma just opened up a whole world with caring and loving and seeing people and animals. We raised 2 squirrels.
Squirrels.
Their
Oh my
mom
gosh.
had died. She saw the mom get hit by the car, and so she went up and rescued them. And it was a little boy and a little girl, and we raised them in our, we had a little plastic dollhouse, and like we'd ring the bell, and they'd come running to
Wow.
So if you needed her, like she was there. She dried fruit. She made those really cool drippy candles. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
I do.
Oh,
You know what I'm
Those are
talking
cool.
about?
Yes.
The ones like you take a knife and you kind of twirl them down and then you
Yeah.
drip them.
That's awesome.
Wow.
You guys would have loved her. So she was cool.
She sounds fabulous.
Yeah, she was wonderful.
She does
And what
sound
an
a lot like you,
influence.
Tina.
Yeah, I was going to say, what an influence she had on your life.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, hands down. She just was, But that's my perspective. If you talk to other people in the family,
Oh, yeah.
they all
Yeah.
have a different
Yeah.
relationship and perspective. And I think that's always interesting when we're talking about grandparents is like, I feel like if we all have the same grandmother, we should all have had the same relationship. That's not how this works, people.
No, it's definitely not.
Like I hear people say, well, that's not how she was. Or,
Who are you talking about?
right. I don't remember that.
Yeah.
And I don't remember her being super like lovey-dovey, but I knew she was a safe place always.
Strikes
So,
me how different our grandmothers were.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it does.
yes, quiet, probably introspective,
Comforting.
right?
Always
Yeah.
there, listening. Yeah.
Yeah. Yours?
Little abrasive, hardworking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine was probably just a little granola before granola was a
That's
thing.
what I was
don't know.
thinking. That's what I was thinking too, Tina.
Anyway, cheers to grandmothers everywhere, whatever you call them, Mimi, Gigi, Grandma, Nana. Yeah, cheers to grandmothers everywhere. So happy Grandmother's Day. Come see us January 23rd for the Death Cafe at Joy's House from 5:30 to 7. You need anything, you know how to get a hold of us, tina@joyshouse.org. Glad you're here, and we will see you next week on Caregiver Crossing.